in that discussion. And so they find insulting that person is easier. Something that is not connected to that opinion or belief that they hold. Because they realize that there's no way that they're going to win that argument through intellectual discussion, because they don't have the necessary tools. And so they start attacking that person's personality. Because that's a weak spot, that they know they continue to soar out. And they think that they will win that way. This is an indication of this person's weak position. It's an indication that this person is not worthy of any type of discussion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ادْعُ إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ بِالْحِكْمَةِ وَالْمَوْعِظَةِ الْحَسَنَةِ وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي أَحْسَنُ. When you're calling to Allah, ادْعُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. When you're calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're inviting people to Allah. You're inviting people to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but how? With hikmah, number one. With maw'idha hasana, with beautiful words. And thirdly, you argue in the best of ways. وَجَادِلْهُمْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. In the best of ways. And so the Muslim cannot compromise on these three qualities in any type of discussion or conversation. Number one, hikmah. يُدْعُو إِلَى سَبِيلِ رَبِّكَ. This is the sabil, it's the path, it's the way of your Lord, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the path of Allah. You must call to it with hikmah, to say the right word to the right person at the right time. Someone who's an active caller to Allah, a da'i to Allah, street da'wah. I've heard of this term, street da'wah, these days. I don't know, what is street da'wah? Someone define for me street da'wah. What's the difference between street da'wah and home da'wah and shopping center da'wah and work da'wah? Da'wah is what? Street da'wah. What does it mean, street da'wah? Does it mean I go out handing pamphlets? This is what Islam is. This is what Prophet Muhammad is. This is Quran. Street da'wah. Putting things in people's face. Islam is more than pamphlets. Islam is more than books. Islam is understanding. Islam is akhlaq. Islam is a'mal. If my understanding of street da'wah is that in order for people to come to Islam, I need to go out on the streets and hand them out promotional propaganda material, and my job is done after 1 hour. I go down the street, hand out a few pamphlets and go back home. MashaAllah, I've done the da'wah for the day. Astaghfirullah. Better for you, you remain at home. You remain at home, better da'wah there for Islam. Because a person with that understanding is going to harm the da'wah more than benefit the da'wah. Because our da'wah is not limited to 1 hour during the day. Our da'wah is not limited to the footpath in a busy Sydney suburb. Our da'wah is life. Our da'wah is our life. Our a'mal, the way we talk with people, the way we interact with people, the way we type to people. MashaAllah, du'at, callers to Allah, organizers, MSA, everything, MashaAllah, involved. But once they go down to the internet and they start commenting and all these things, no one is safe from their inquisitive fingers and prying thoughts, such that they'll begin to insult and they'll begin to not give anyone the benefit of any doubt, and so they become what they call keyboard warriors. And so no one is safe from such a person's harm. This is not the da'wah of Islam. This is not the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, but rather our da'wah is a 24-hour da'wah. Our da'wah is a lifetime da'wah. And so it does not rest upon a simple conversation, 30 seconds or 1 minute or 2 minutes, that is conducted between a Muslim and a non-Muslim trying to introduce them to Islam. But rather there may be no words exchanged, but just a vision or a glance from some average person that looks at a Muslim at a distance and said, this is a special person. This is a person unlike any other person. This is a genuine, that's a compassionate person, that's a loving person, it's a caring person, a person of respect and honor. If they are able to say that from a distance, then that's your da'wah. But if that doesn't occur, if that's not present, and you're sitting there, you're kicking and screaming and joking and running around and jumping somersaults in the footpath, and then you expect to have some type of positive impact in your da'wah through your physical pamphlets or books or audio cassette or CD or whatever it is, but at the same time, you're shouting across the road and screaming and doing funny things, all these silly things, then we say better you remain private, that you don't expose yourself to the public because you're doing more harm than good. Because Allah Ta'ala describes the believers, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ, and the servants of the All-Merciful. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ, who are they? الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, they are those who tread lightly on the earth. The Muslim, the ibad of Ar-Rahman, the servants of the all-compassionate Allah, are those who don't stomp with arrogance, full of pride, thinking they are the best in the area, they are the strongest. I've just come out of the gym, I've just done this, I've just... Oh, no. وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, they tread lightly on the earth. In all forms of lightly, meaning they do not raise their voice in public. They do not announce to their friend that is across the road. But rather, there is softness, and there is tranquility, and there is serenity in his conversation, in public and in private. His clothing, the clothing of the believer, of the abd of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is indicative of his servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not one that brings attention to such a person to indicate that this is a person of arrogance or pride or outward material honor or wealth, but rather is something that is befitting and appropriate for that particular context which he or she is living in. And so the ibad of Ar-Rahman, الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, they are those who tread lightly on the earth, but sometimes they're going to encounter difficulties and conflicts. What happens when the people of Jahl, of ignorance, start to pick fights with them? They respond. How do they respond? وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. And when the people of ignorance, the people that still have not yet tasted the refinement of character through following and emulating the one who possessed the greatest character, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the people of ignorance, when they speak to them, when they start to shout and hurl insults and perhaps exchange a few blows, what happens? They insult you and you insult them double. They insult your son, you insult their grandfather. They punch you once and you knock them out right there and then. وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ, these people of Jahl, what do you do? What do you say? قَالُوا سَلَامًا, peace. Because you're a Muslim, you're a bearer of peace. You're a holder of peace. You bring salam to people. Because you are representing as-salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of all peace. So if you represent Allah, who is the source of peace, you don't bring war to the earth. The Muslim wasn't sent to the earth to spread war and corruption and bloodshed. When you look to the Muslim lands, there are Muslims who are spreading war, corruption and bloodshed. It's not Islam. It's far away from Islam. It's far away from the Prince of Islam, from the Prophet of Islam, from the Lord of Islam. That's not Islam. And so therefore you come as a representative of salam. When you say Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you, meaning you're saying to the person that you're greeting, you're safe from my tongue. I'm not going to backbite against you. You're safe, I'm not going to dishonor you. You're safe, I'm not going to cheat you in my transaction that I'm going to be involved with you. You're safe from my hands, I'm not going to take your property. I'm not going to steal. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm not going to oppress you. I'm not going to commit any act of injustice to you. You're safe from my tongue. You're safe from my hands. You're safe from my feet. You're safe from everything. You know what? The Muslim goes to the extent to say to the person that they've encountered, that they're conversing with, that they've met on the street, you're not only safe from my outward organs, those that you can see, my five senses, but you're also safe from my heart. What do you mean safe from my heart? You're safe from my heart, meaning rest assured that I am going to go to sleep tonight not holding a grudge against you. Even if you wrong me, even if you oppress me, even if you hurt me, I'm not going to hold a grudge against you. Even if you backbite against me, I'm going to find it deep within my heart to manifest qualities and attributes of forbearance, of pardon and forgiveness. Because I'm not one to continue to hold grudges against any other creature of Allah. Why? Because I've got so many things that Allah can hold against me on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the day of resurrection. And if He holds just one of these things, then I'm doomed to destruction. And so therefore I hope that Allah Ta'ala pardons me for every single wrongdoing. Not only every single wrongdoing, but every single good action. Because my good actions, half the time I'm not even attentive, half of the time I don't even have an intention, half the time I'm just on autopilot, I'm just robotic, and I do my actions, my ibadat. So if Allah Ta'ala were to bring me to account for my ibadat, oh, I don't know if I'd be smelling the fragrance of Jannah. But I have hope and raja in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala that He forgive me for my errors, for my mistakes. And so therefore I train myself in this life. I'm going to see what opportunity do I have to exercise forgiveness and pardon. If no one has ever wronged you, no one's ever insulted you, no one's ever harmed you, and you say, oh yes, I am so forgiving, I'm so generous. Oh, mashallah, show me proof. What's your proof? Evidence. I'm so generous. Yes. How much money have you given sadaqah? If you're generous outwardly, how much? Oh, nothing. But I'm generous with my money. Oh? You don't spend on your children. You don't spend on the masjid. You don't spend on the community. You don't spend on anything. How are you generous? It says, I'm forbearance. I never get angry. Has anyone ever provoked you? Has anyone ever insulted you? Has anyone ever bumped into you while you're doing tawaf? MashaAllah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. He's doing his tawaf. He's going there, MashaAllah, full hudur with Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. And then he just feels this sharp nail hit into his heel. He looks back, he sees some guy. Hey, what are you doing? This is the haram. Why are you not doing going? Look, blood now, najasa. Now I'm going to go wash and this. Subhanallah. Yeah, Subhanallah. You. Not Subhanallah, him. Because you lost it. You're the one that lost it. There goes your Hajj Mabrur. Hajj Mabrur, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that the highest Hajj is the one that has no reward less than Jannah. And the ulama said that the good, righteous, proper Hajj, this Hajj Mabrur, is one where there's no argumentation, one there's no loss of temper. Some of our scholars and shuyukh used to tell us stories that even to the point that they'd be on Hajj and in Haram of Makkah, Haram wherever, when they'd be in their Ihram, in their Hajj, even if they're going to buy something from some shopkeeper, from some guy selling things, or he puts the rug out there and selling hijabs or selling miswaks or selling subhas or whatever it is, selling on the road, he says, how much is this? Durian. He wouldn't even, the customer, the Haji, he won't even say 1 riyal. If the guy says 2 riyal, he takes out 2 riyal and he gives him 2 riyal. Why? Because he believes that if the shopkeeper said 2 riyal, $2, and then he, in Hajj, in Haram, he said $1, 1 riyal, this is a form of argumentation. Because you haven't accepted what he said. So therefore he would give whatever he was being asked for in terms of the price. This is the point. This is the extent that they would take it to. Because they were people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single thing that they would do, they knew that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was watching them. And they were witnessing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single interaction. And such was the importance of Islam in every single part of their lives. So this is the first hadith for today. أبغض الرجال إلى الله الألد الخصم. A person who excessively enters into argumentation, then this is one of the most detested people, one of the most hated people in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what we said when it is concerning personal affairs. As for the deen, that's the affairs of the deen. sacred affairs, then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not seen to be silent. If it was something personal, someone dishonored him, insulted him, he would take this. But if it was an insult of the deen, then no one would be able to remain silent, but rather Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would come to the defense. In the next hadith, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: اتق ما كنت وأتبع السيئة الحسنة تمحها وخالق الناس بخلق حسن. حديث حسن رواه الترمذي. In this hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives us a eternal counsel and piece of advice. He says, اتق الله حيثما كنت. Have taqwa of Allah. Be conscious of Allah, fear Allah. Where? حيثما كنت. Wherever you find yourself. Some people say that I have taqwa of Allah in the masjid. When I come to the masjid, I'm wearing beautiful clothing, put on my perfume, look the whole show, on my best behavior, because there's people watching there. Taqwa of Allah, look pious, mashallah, pray everything, pray the sunnah. And then outside the masjid, in the cafe, in the restaurant, with the boys, having fun, at home, with his wife, with his children, shaitan, astaghfirullah. He's shouting, he's screaming, he's throwing chairs around, he's hurling insults, he doesn't care. Such a person has no taqwa of Allah. We say he had taqwa of Allah in the masjid? No, he didn't have taqwa of Allah, he had taqwa of people. He feared the opinion of people. He was conscious that there were people around him that he respects, and that they see him as a person of honor and respect, and so he didn't want to taint his reputation. It's about keeping his reputation. Some of us are like this, maybe not all the time, but at times. Or maybe at work. I'm CEO, I'm a manager, I'm a team leader, I'm going to keep everything in order. But mashallah, outside work, you look at this guy, you think, that guy's a manager at some top-notch organization or company? No way. Because these are not the actions, this is not the personality of a person who keeps things together at work. And so tonight we're about looking at the attributes of taqwa and applying them not only in the masjid, not only at work, but rather at every opportunity that we have. Because Islam is not a 9-to-5 job. Islam is not a 5 times a day job. Like I have our salah 5 times a day, I pray. And outside of that, there's no salah. Islam is 24 hours, 7 days a week. 365 days of the year, I'm a Muslim. Whether I'm alone, I'm with my family, I'm at work, I'm with my friends, with my seniors, with my juniors, with my peers, with my boss, whoever it may be with, even with my enemies. Islam, I cannot leave. اتق الله حيثما كنت. Wherever you are, have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if there's no one else there. Because there's never no one else there. There's always someone there, and that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sahal bin Abdullah al-Tustari, one of the great salihin, the great pious people of this ummah. At a young age, maybe he was 3-4 years old, he used to see his uncle praying during the night. And so he asked him, or he takes permission, he wants to do the same. His uncle teaches him particular dua. He says, oh my child, he says, before you go to sleep, he says, recite in your heart, without pronouncing, so that you can hear yourself with your ears, Allahu shahidi, Allahu nadri, Allahu ma'i. Says say this 3 times, but in your heart say it. Allah witnesses me, Allah shahidi. Allah ma'i, Allah is with me. Allahu nadiri, or nadirun ilayh, Allah can see me. Just repeat these 3 times in your heart, without moving your tongue. Before you go to sleep, allow this to be your last words. After a week, 2 weeks, some time passes, he increases it to 5 times, and then to 7, and then to 11. This young boy, after a period of time, he says, when I was consistent in this, he says, I tasted a particular sweetness that I've never tasted before. I tasted a particular sweetness that I've never tasted before. He comes and he tells his uncle, and his uncle He says to him, he says, "Oh my child," he says, "a person who knows that Allah is witnessing them will never disobey. A person that knows that Allah is with them will never disobey Allah. And a person who knows that Allah is constantly seeing them will never disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." This was the tarbiyah. This is the way that the parents, uncles and grandparents used to allow their children to sleep and to wake up. Before putting them to sleep, mum would come to her child and she'd say, "Tonight, inshallah, you're going to see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the dream." Not Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not Frozen. I still don't know what's Frozen. Is it something you put in the freezer? Or is it some cartoon or some movie? I still haven't seen it. Everyone talking about Frozen, Frozen, Frozen. What is it that our kids are seeing in their dreams? And we wonder, our kids have got problems. They're seeing things during the day, they can't focus. Well, of course they can't focus because they're looking frozen and melted and funny things like this that are being designed by all these multinational corporations in order to brainwash our children, in order to take them away from the purity of Allah and the seeing of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So, what's the problem? What are our children going to sleep on? And what are they waking up upon? When my mum in past generations would come to her child in the morning, she says, "What did you see? Did you dream of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam?" They didn't even first words. And so the child, little Muhammad and little Zainab, they go to sleep wanting to see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And they wake up feeling sorry, feeling bad that they didn't get to see Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so their whole day, they're going to try and work towards increasing their love towards Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So that same night, the next night, they can see him. This was their work. This is what they used to live for. اتق الله حيثما كنت, have taqwa of Allah wherever you may be. And then he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَأَتْبِعِ السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةَ تَمْحُهَا. He says, if you do a sayyah, if you do a bad deed, acknowledge you've done it. Don't sweep it under the carpet. Some people just go to sweep. Like some of our children, you tell them vacuum or sweep the floor, what do? They'll lift the rug up, sweep everything under the rug, put the rug down, done. Or clean your bedroom. Ali, clean your bedroom. So he goes, takes off all his clothes, opens up the wardrobe, throws it in, closes the wardrobe. Mom, I'm done. MashaAllah, good boy Ali, Jazakallah khair. Useless boy. This guy kidding himself. Who's he kidding? That's not proper work. That's not proper covering up. That's not proper following up. If you, Prophet ﷺ says, وَأَتْبِعِ السَّيِّئَةَ الْحَسَنَةَ تَمْحُهَا. If you do a wrong deed, acknowledge that you've done a wrong deed. Because the first good deed that you can do after a wrong deed is the acknowledgement of the wrong deed. That's the first good deed. Someone says, yes, Rasulullah ﷺ says, if you've done a sin, then do a good straight away and it's going to erase it. So, little funny guy goes out and he does some sin, whatever sin comes to his mind, and then he goes up and he gives $5 and he puts it in the box in the masjid. He thinks that that's going to wipe out his sin. And then he goes 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, 1 hour later, next day, and he goes and he does another sin or the same sin. And then he goes, gives a little sadaqah, or does a little prayer, or does something, thinking that's going to erase his sin. The first step in erasing the sin is to acknowledge the sin. The mere act of doing good deeds is not going to help if there's no remorse, if there's no nadama, if there's no guilt, if there's no acknowledgement of the wrong. The first step in treating your own disease, if you've got a disease, your stomach is hurting, I've got stomach pains, oh, I've got a migraine. You've got to know you've got a migraine. If you come and you start to take medicine for stomach pains, but you've got a migraine, does it make sense? Vice versa. You've got to know what it is that you're suffering from. The moment you know what it is that you're suffering from, then you can start to treat accordingly. But if you're unable to diagnose your problem, your illness, your disease, how can you expect proper treatment? And so the first step after a sin is to acknowledge that you've done it. Not to wash it away, not to sweep it under the carpet, or not to think, it's only a minor sin. Oh, minor sin? Where did you get this definition of minor sin from? Oh, it's a minor sin. I didn't murder anyone. I didn't backchat against my parents. I didn't take any interest or usury. It's just a minor sin. Minor sin. Put this minor major sin thing definition aside. Tell me, who did you disobey? Allah! Allah. Is He great? Yes. He's not only great, He is the greatest. Then what you've done is the greatest sin. Why? How? It's only a white lie. White lie, there's no such thing. All white lies are black lies, except certain situations which we're allowed to tell other than the truth in a situation for a particular reason. Other than that, we're not allowed. Because you sinned, you disobeyed He who is greater than everything else, then that sin is the greatest sin. Because you haven't disobeyed any human being. You haven't disobeyed any creature. You disobeyed the creator of creatures. The worst act of error, of disobedience, is the greatest act of disobedience. And so acknowledging that particular wrong, that particular sin, to take me into account for that particular wrong that I had done, then who is going to have mercy upon me? I can't knock on anyone's door. I can write 1,000 letters to my local MP or my Prime Minister. I don't know who's our Prime Minister today. Still the same one? Still the same one. I can write 1,000 letters and ask them. I ask Allah, please, Allah's forgiveness. Please, I did this, I did this, I did this. I want Allah's forgiveness. No matter how influential He is in the world, no matter how many strings He can pull, no human being can forgive if it is something between you and Allah, or if it's something that you have wronged someone else with regard to some physical type of property or some honor which you have insulted theirs. So, اتق الله حيثما كنت وأتبع السيئة الحسنة تمحها. The hasana that you follow up the bad deed with will erase that bad deed. And finally, وَخَالِقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. When you deal with people, deal with them in خُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. We have two words in Arabic. One's called خَلْق and the other is خُلُق. خَلْق refers to my outward appearance. When someone opens his eyes, what do they see? They say, MashaAllah, Muhammad wearing beautiful black t-shirt, great pants, socks, and beautiful blue eyes, green eyes, crew cut, I don't know what, and MashaAllah, fair skin, beautiful, handsome, wonderful. That's his khalq. That's his outward appearance. But his khuluq is, can I bring, what do they call those cameras? Take a camera, put a camera inside his mouth and down his throat and start to look inside, how it looks like inside? Khuluq is his character, his personality, his inward attributes, his qualities, his principles, his ethics, his behavior. This is his khuluq, his inward appearance, what he looks like on the outside. Which one do you think is more important? The one on the inside is more important. Does that mean the one on the outside is not important? No. They are both important. But if you are going to struggle between either beautifying your outward appearance or beautifying your inward appearance, you should, without thinking twice, choose to beautify your inward appearance. And your beautifying your inward appearance is going to have a direct effect on your outward appearance. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, "Tunkahul mar'atu li'arba'ah." He says, a woman can be married for one of four reasons. If you're on the market, some people are on the market for car sales, country, they're on the market for a new car. And so every day, these are the features, it's got to be under 150,000 Ks, it's got to be wide, it's got to be no more than 3 years old, it's got to be no accident damage, they put the features that they want. And every day they get an update, alert. When you're looking for a wife, you also have to be on the alert. What are the qualities, what are the criteria you've got to put in your search boxes, if you like? Prophet ﷺ says there are 4 search boxes that you can put in. It says you can put in pretty, beautiful, attractive. تنكح المرأة لأربع. She can marry one of four reasons. Number one, لجمالها. She's so beautiful, she's so pretty, she's so attractive. That's number one. He says number two is لحسبها. Her lineage. Her lineage, what family she comes from. Are they well respected in the community? Are they a big tribe, big family? Everyone respects them, everyone looks up to them. حسبها. Number two. Number three, لمالها. For her property. What do you mean her property? Meaning how much money? Bakish. How much money she got? She come from a wealthy family. Has she got 2 houses, 3 properties? Good job. Lots of savings. Big inheritance. Her father died recently. She's inherited everything. There's no one else. لمالها. For her money? That's number 3. And the fourth, لدينها. For her deen, her faith. How attached and how serious is she with regard to Islam and religion? He says these are the 4 search criteria when you're putting on your search for your new wife, your first wife. And the Prophet ﷺ, he says, فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَكَ. He says if you make all your search criteria, your only search criteria, that of deen, of faith, of religion, he says, then you will be successful. It means you'll get everything else. But you say, oh, but she's ugly. I can't bear to look at her. But she's so pious. MashaAllah, beautiful hijab. MashaAllah, beautiful clothing. MashaAllah, she fears Allah so much. MashaAllah, 5 salat fard. MashaAllah, she prays the sunnah. Walaikum salam. She recites the Quran, does dua, dhikr, everything. 100%. MashaAllah. But I look at her, I'm about to fall down dead, faint, because she looks like a ghost to me. Oh, then what's going to happen here? If she really is a person of deen, then you'll start to see nur and light on her face. And that outward ugliness will turn into inward beauty that manifests on all of your being. If you're looking with your basira, if you're looking with your inside, but if you continue to just look with your eyes, then yeah, you're not going to see anything the truth is. Likewise, if she's poor, if she got no money to purchase any decent clothing, anything, no, it's not a good one to marry. I want someone that's rich, someone that takes care of herself, got 5 kilos of gold on her right arm, and 2 kilos of silver on her left arm, and 3 necklaces, and mashallah, decoration, what do you call the Eid decoration dresses wherever she goes out. That's the one I want. Then you're just looking for disco. Blue light disco, what are they called? That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for a lifelong partner in Jannah. You're just looking for a toy. You're looking for something that's just going to tickle your fancy every now and again when you want to switch on, off. No, we're looking for deen. If you look for deen, then the mal halal, the lawful property is going to come with the deen. Everything will come with deen, but if there's no deen, the other 3 might be there. She might be the most beautiful Miss Universe on the planet. She might be Miss Multi-Billionaire, no problem. She might come from a royal family of Australia, whatever it may be. 100%, all these 3 qualities. But deen is not there. Wrong choice. Because she may lose all her property tomorrow, go bankrupt. Give her a few years' time, she'll start getting wrinkles and start to have to buy all those creams that they sell on the morning TV shows. Or they give you call 1-800 number, and for the first 15 people that call, you're going to get $50,000 worth of free cream. I don't know. Do I believe them? How do you know that you're the 15th caller or the 16th caller? I don't know how they work. Anyhow, so you have to buy all those creams and try and reverse the aging process. Beauty is not going to stay forever. It's dunya. Rose, you plant beautiful rose plant. MashaAllah. You give it some time. The buds start to blossom and looks beautiful, red, pink, orange, green, wonderful, and you smell it for a couple of days, and then a few weeks later, oh, it's all gone and fizzling away and dried and gone and falls off. Finished. That's dunya for you. This is the whole life of this world. Meaning you can experience its pleasure and its delight for a small period of time, but after that, there's no returning to it, because it's going to move on. So then in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, وَخَالِقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ, engage with people in the best of ways with noble character. And this is something that is inside your personality that manifests in your limbs. Oh, good character is inside. So why are you screaming? Why are you shouting? Why are you foaming at the lips? Why are you going red? Why are you about to belt the person that's in front of you? I have good intentions. No, if you had good intentions, then these actions wouldn't manifest on your hands, on your eyes about to pop out. You're shouting, you're screaming. How many people, how many young men you get married for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 1 year, and they start to pronounce divorce on their wife and this and that, and start to emotionally abuse and maybe physically abuse and whatever other type of abuse. It's all considered domestic violence, all not permitted. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, خيركم خيركم لأهلي وأنا خيركم لأهلي. He says, the best of you, O men, are the best of you to your wives. I'm the best of you to my wives. If you want to know who's best, then show me how you are in behavior to your own family, to your own wife, the closest person to you. How are you? If we were to come and give her anonymous private survey questionnaire interview, tell me this about your husband, no names mentioned, what's she going to say about you? If she's only going to have applause and praise and commending and clapping her hands to him, mashallah, 100%, alhamdulillah, you are the best of people. But if she's going to tell the truth, if she's going to say, oh, if there's not enough salt in the food when he comes back from work, then God knows what happens at home. Or if I have time, then he starts to do this and do that and go crazy. If this is the case, then it doesn't matter what you look like. If you look like you're the most faithful person and well respected amongst your peers, and at work and in the masjid wherever you are nothing in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, وَخَالِقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ, and the most deserving of people about khuluq hasan are the closest of people. Our own children, our own families, our own wives, our own husbands, our own parents, our own neighbors. مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ فَلْيُكْرِمْ جَارَهُ. A person who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the last day, then let that particular person be generous to his or her neighbor. وَخَالِقِ النَّاسَ بِخُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. And so this is hadith number 3 in the text, our second hadith for today. As for the next hadith, inshallah, we'll continue next week. The hadith for next week is hadith number 4 in this text. The first of those is أحب البلاد إلى الله مساجدها. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أحب البلاد إلى الله مساجدها وأبغض البلاد إلى الله أسواقها. He's talking about places and locations, the most beautiful places in the sight of Allah and the most hated places in the sight of Allah. And then the hadith after that, so we can prepare ourselves, inshallah. أحب الله لما يغلوكم به من نعمه. To love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the very blessings which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants you. So we're talking about the blessings of Allah, inshallah, next week. And the love of Allah and the love of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Any questions before we close on the hadith and on the subject matter for tonight? No questions? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to apply the teachings and the advice and the counsel that we've heard, to increase in our love for Allah and His blessing of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, and to allow us to continue to spread that amongst our neighbors and our families and our loved ones and our friends and those who live with us in this particular era, in this particular environment. Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Lillahi ta'ala bisirri al-Fatiha.